All right, welcome back, guys, to another edition of the Raw Intuition Health Show. Great to be with you again on this Saturday or Sunday. Sunday, sorry, we didn't have a show on Saturday. We were going to, but it didn't happen. But today, I'm very excited to have a very inspiring and wise guest with us. We're going to be talking about meditation, the importance of silence, self-expression, and all things related to that in helping us to achieve, optimal well-being and a fulfilling life, and just following our intuition to, the path that we are meant to be on. So today we're having Bradley James Lovell, I believe is his last name, but he is a meditation practitioner, facilitator who stewarded the Southeast Vipassana Center in southern Georgia for 3 years, with thousands of hours in silence and multiple 10 to 30-day retreats. His practice has a fermata at its core, an intentional lingering that invites the numinous quiet that most people rush past. Years of traveling, including hiking in the Himalayas and Patagonia, completing the Pacific Crest Trail, and backpacking across South America. It has given him a wayfarer's sensibility, simple, spacious, and attentive to the body's weather. A true Renaissance soul, he makes striking wood and epoxy pieces, which are incredible. You can check him out on his Instagram. Tactile prayers dressed in brilliant colors, and composes music that is heart-opening and kinetic. I love his music as well. Above all, he seeks to be a service to those aiming for freedom, and the instruments he brings are humble and exacting, which are his hands and his voice. So let's bring Bradley onto the show. What's up, Bradley? Thanks for being here.
Thanks, man. You've sufficiently puffed me up.
Well, it's well deserved. It is well deserved. I'm really looking forward to hearing your story. I haven't really heard, the depths of your story. It seems fascinating. I know we were at the vegan wellness retreat together last August. We didn't get a chance to connect, but next year I'm looking forward to that. Going to your nervous system reset sessions, and the other. I'm not sure if you're offering what else you offer, but I look forward to hearing about that here today. So yeah, how did you like the retreat?
I was pleasantly surprised by the retreat, honestly.
Yeah, me too.
I thought because it was a shorter retreat than I'm used to. It was what, 4 full days.
Yep.
I thought, oh well, we might not be able to go as deep with everyone as I would anticipate as I would like,
Yeah.
and I was just blown away by how quickly the community developed, and I received just a lot out of it. Yeah, I was integrating it for a few days, even weeks after, and just
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it.
Likewise. Yeah, Mallory, what's up in the chat? Thanks for being here. And before we get into your story, Bradley, and just kind of everything else we're going to cover, where can people find you? And what services can they expect when they look at your resources?
Yes, they can find my music anywhere where they stream music, essentially Spotify, Apple, all the main platforms. Social media would be Instagram at Brother Bradley James, and I have a website, but I'm tinkering with it. I'm not the most tech savvy person, but there'll be more of my wood offerings and nervous system resets and more meditative offerings as well, as far as and my schedule about where I'm going to be throughout the year, because I do generally go to different events.
Sure.
So
Cool.
I'd say Instagram or um or any music platform. Yeah.
On your music platforms, is it under Bradley James, or how did they
Just
find you?
Bradley J, actually.
Okay.
All one word, Bradley J, the letter J.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, I've got your Instagram and the link to where they can get to your uh, the different music platforms that you're on linked in the description box below. So everybody, I would suggest definitely going and checking out his music and his art. They are fascinating. So yeah, let's get into your story. Like, how did you become interested in being a meditation facilitator, and how did you end up, traveling South America and all the other things that you've done in your life so far?
Well, I think I think most people's path inward starts with some level of suffering,
Mm,
and so I would say that's what brought me to it, and I started to become quite aware of my just some internal misalignment after I left university at 21, or I graduated and left this whole bubble of influence and thought I knew, exactly where I was going. My path was going to be a finance person, make tons of money, do the whole thing. And when I left that influence, I had to start kind of figuring out what it is I like to do
mm,
and make decisions for myself. And realized, whoa, there's this whole identity I've built up that is not even who I am. And that tension started like me going inward more and more and started researching different tools, this, that, or the other, and meditation, which is kind of a broad brushstroke term, but going inward became a key part of my life, and it kept bearing fruit. So I just kept going deeper and deeper and finding ways to go deeper, and that led me to managing a meditation center and just dedicating my life to the practice and service, essentially. And now I find myself playing the game of how do I serve in the mundane world while also honoring my inward journey and propelling that forward. Kind of like, how do I weave these two worlds together?
mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I can relate to that, in the sense of trying to follow the guidance within you and also have it, be practical for making a living and things like that. And just,
Right.
you know, um, but so for people that aren't aware of what Vipassana is, can you go into that a little bit, and how
Yes.
what that experience is like for you?
Yes. So Vipassana in a nutshell is learning how to concentrate your mind so that you become more sensitive to what your bodily sensations are. And the crux of the practice is not just developing sensitivity to what's happening within your body at any given moment, but developing a poise to that. So when we start to go inward, we can often be shocked at how much activity is actually happening. And when we start to become aware of not just our emotions, but just all sorts of tactile sensations within all over the body at different layers and depths, it can be overwhelming. And so part of the practice is also developing equanimity to whatever is happening within. And as that sensitivity and equanimity develop within, that extrapolates to having much more awareness of the world without us and not being so molded and swayed by whatever is happening outside of us, which is in today's world, Matt, a superpower in many ways.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, you kind of had that vision of you're going to be in finance, and you had a whole plan, laid out, I'm sure, in front of you. And um, was it through meditation um, that kind of helped you realize that that wasn't your going to be your path? Like, that's not what lit up your your soul, or how did you
Yeah,
part
yeah.
ways with that identity?
Well, I think I needed something a little more gross and hard hitting than meditation at first. I think I was pretty stubborn. So psychedelics played a big part in my early development down this path. And so me and friends would go out to different wilderness areas on our weekends off while we're, grinding during the week in finance, and we'd bring high doses of mushrooms and just go experience different realities. And once I figured out that there was much more around me than what I had envisioned, um, I started to see kind of my job is slowly sucking my soul away. And
Mm,
there's nothing against corporate America, all this. It just wasn't my path.
sure.
And I was starting to see that very clearly. So, and it got to a point where I couldn't even go in there another day. And I just made the decision to leave. And yeah, the rest is history.
Yeah. Well, that's admirable. I'm somewhat in that same position where I do have a corporate, I guess you could say, job. I just have a day job that doesn't
Nice.
it doesn't fill me with passion. It doesn't light me up like I would like it to, and like my raw tuition work, which does. And so I do my best to work this service as much as I can, and
Yes.
build it up. But I'm still I have feet in both areas there. So it's great to see people like you that have taken that urge or that guidance within them and really gone with it, and seeing just the beautiful path that it unfolds in front of you. So um what about with your art? Was that something that you've always done, or was that something that came later?
I think I've always had like an inclination, but I've never like I remember periods throughout my adolescence and childhood where I would get assigned an art project and really be passionate about it and dive deep into it. But those were just intermittent and they never developed any consistency. And then in 2020, I was living in Ecuador and I started to develop a like strong interest in balancing my brain.
Mm,
I'm naturally left-handed, and so I've got like some ambidexterity in me, but I started to actively develop ambidexterity, and that just kind of kickstarted a lot of creativity. And I started playing with different things. I crocheted, I play guitar, I do all these different things. And then I was like, okay, I'm digging all these little wells, but I kind of want to go deep in a couple of these wells. So like, let's figure out what would really drive me. And I started working with wood, started making music, and I was like, okay, these two are satisfying some deep needs. Let's dig deeper in these. And so that's been consistent for the past 5 years, the music and the woodworking. And I've created many, many pieces and over 50 published songs. So it's been consistent since then. And I don't anticipate it stopping anytime soon.
yeah, well, that's awesome. Yeah, the music, the lyrics are incredible, first of all. So I love how they flow, and just the realness to it. Definitely hits deep for me when I listen to that. So I hope everybody will go out and take a listen, because there's so many good tunes that you got going.
Dude, I appreciate you saying that and even listening. I
Yeah,
truly make these things just for me. So when
nice.
people listen to it and enjoy it, it's like it's the biggest bonus, bro.
Yeah,
It's unbelievable. So I really appreciate that.
yeah, my pleasure, my pleasure. I think that what you said about how you realized that your, going into your corporate job was just kind of draining your soul every time you would go in. I think I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that can um, relate to that. And I think just something I was thinking about earlier is how, I feel like that's probably why a lot of people as adults become depressed and just
Mm.
unfulfilled, is that, as and I'm kind of getting to self expression, which you're clearly doing a great job of with your music and your art and your meditation and all that, and the services that you're providing. as children, you don't often see depressed children. Maybe more so these days with the environment that we're in. But typically, children are happy and just joyful because they are just naturally self-expressive, right?
Mhm.
They're expressing what they find enjoyable, what they laugh a lot, they just do things that they are called to. And as we get older, we are suppressing that innate drive more and more. As we go through school, we start building these identities for ourselves, this path that we want to go on for a job that might probably, in most cases, I would guess, don't align with our true passions. Um, so, what would you say self-expression, like how has that really become such a pillar in your life, and how do you see that as being like, how important do you feel self-expression is in just creating a life that we are happy with?
Great question. I just want to backtrack a second because I kind of demonized corporate America and saying it was
Yeah,
soul draining.
sure.
And I think the more accurate way to express that is I was starting to require a different level of nourishment, and the job was not giving me that nourishment. So that job is providing something, but I was requiring a different form. And so it's not that it was draining me. I was just starting to shift in how I nourish myself and needing something different. So, and just to clear that up, because
Yeah.
I think there's a purpose and a role for everyone, and how that looks is going to be unique. And I don't know, I'm kind of working beyond good and bad, right and wrong, and these dual camps. And so,
Hmm.
yeah, I just wanted to touch base on that.
Yeah.
But as far as self-expression and its import, I feel like self-expression has evolved as almost a byproduct of me going inward and starting to trust myself more and more. So as I trust myself more and more, I stop questioning um, how I speak. I stop questioning like my spontaneity and allow that to be. And sometimes there's mistakes made, but as I keep forgiving myself and allowing myself to be as I am and accept myself as I am, and that's through my practices um, of just coming back here again and again, not expecting things, not wishing things were different than what they are, that develops like an implicit trust within me. And that starts just naturally becoming who I am. And who I am has a form of expression. I imagine some people who gain that trust deeper and deeper I mean, they express themselves differently. Everyone does. And some express less, some express more. But I think it's just a byproduct of me going inward and developing that trust for myself. I know I said that 3 times, but I'm just trying to drive it home.
Absolutely. Yeah. I I love that. And I agree. There I do my best as well not to be in that dualistic camp where corporate jobs are bad. You have to do your passion all the time to be happy. But um, yeah, so well said. And I do think, just like you said, trusting yourself and seeing how that leads you to what path to go down, and it doesn't always have to be all or nothing, right? Like you can do essentially what I'm doing at this point in my life, which I do have just a regular day job, and then I do this on the side. And over time, perhaps I'll be able to do this full time. But even if I don't, I'm still allowing myself to have self-expression through the show, through my books, through the other things that I'm offering, but then also still having that other part of my life. So yeah, I just this show is almost more for myself, I feel like, than it is for the
Definitely
audience.
right.
I'm just trying to just glean as much information from you as possible, and just discovering the best tools to navigate my life. So Um,
But isn't that interesting? Like, as we keep nourishing ourselves, like that process automatically nourishes others. Like
yes.
the gifts that you share already nourishing others. And that's just such a beautiful fractal because there's no separation anyway, right? Ultimately, you are me, I am you, and everyone else. And so as we're serving ourselves, we're serving the collective. And yeah, it's just filling our own cup will naturally overflow into everyone else's cup.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that is so true. For people that are, just kind of trying to get into um, the mindset of being able to fill their own cup and do things that nourish themselves on a deeper level. What do you have any like initial tips for these people like getting into meditation? Like, what's the best way to get into that? Or do you have any other tips for just kind of working towards this sort of a path?
Definitely. I think one way is, well, first of all, understand that our bodies and minds are constantly consuming and processing. And when we take on too much, when we consume too much, be it physically, mentally, emotionally, our processing time slows down and we create backlogs that create density, which create vibrations, which change our entire experience, what we attract, the kind of people we attract, everything. And so as we just start to maybe sit in silence or even abstain from a meal or go for a walk instead of sitting down and watching TV, even just little things that help us process instead of consume, we start to create more space and we start to have bigger insights. We start to see deeper within, and then we can figure out on our own what we're passionate about. And slowly, with sincerity and intention, we can just start to take risks. Try that thing that you were thinking about for the past 3 years and just never pulled the trigger. Like give it a shot or, tell that person that thing that you've been wanting to tell them and just start taking risks that you're comfortable with, finding your edge. And that can become a practice all on its own. And like that, just step by step by step, if you just keep allowing yourself to process things instead of continually consume things, you're going to have much more space for a life that frankly, you don't even know what that looks like. You might
Yeah.
have an idea, but you're in now a journey of self-discovery, and your wants right now are not going to be the same as when you start getting rid of some of these layers of nonsense that you're holding on to. So be open to your wants changing, be open to your desires changing, and you got to just go on the ride at some point and surrender. I mean,
Mm.
it's like the classic lucid dreamer, right? Someone starts lucid dreaming and they become fixated with, manipulating all the parts. Well, I want to do this. I want this pleasure, that pleasure, and they go through all that and they just get fucking bored after a while, and then they just surrender. Like, you know what? Let the dream unfold. See what happens. And that's kind of the space I'm finding myself in more and more
Mm.
is just letting go of even my wants and desires. I kind of have a compass of what I'm passionate about and what lights me up, but there's no real attachment to that because I know that that's just going to take me to another direction where I may think that that's the destination, but that's just so I can see the angle from this way and actually go that way.
Mm.
And you just don't know, you don't know. So surrender has been my motto for 2025, Matt, and I keep coming back to it again and again because life surprises me, man, on the daily. And it's an interesting way to live, like kind of like not knowing, but also having taken the time to develop faith and trust, not just in myself, but in something greater than me that I've never been without. I've always had everything I need. Why should that change at any point in the future? So, yeah,
Yeah.
my tip would be to I think in this world, a big tip would be to enjoy time in silence or
Mm.
enjoy time in nature. And I think people underestimate how powerful just sitting by yourself can be. Even if you've full of thoughts and your mind won't shut up, just sometimes you just got to sit. And that's just your mind processing it in whatever chaotic way it needs to. And if you just take the time to just sit and watch it, it will work itself out. There will be solutions that come to your problems. There will be ideas and clarity will eventually come. But most people, what I find is they they're not letting themselves get past that. They say, I can't meditate. I sit down for 5, 10 minutes and my mind won't shut up. 5 or 10 minutes? You spent a lifetime consuming thoughts and thinking things. It's going to take longer sometimes to process things. So be patient with yourself, be gentle. You're on a lifetime journey. There's no rush to get wherever the hell you think you're needing to get. And yeah, remember your breath too. Come back to your
Mm.
breath. Powerful tool. It's always there. It's always available. That's the thing. The best tools are always free, universal, and they don't have floors or ceilings. There's just extreme depth to them. So I know that's a lot that I just blurted out, but yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great. Um, and it is amazing that the best tools that we have are free. You know, our breath, our silence. You know, just going within. Um, you know, it's not as complicated, I think, as a lot of people make it out to be. You're a perfect example of that, and it's something that, you know, with meditation, I go back and forth with my practice as well, but it's so funny that you mentioned that, you know, we've spent a lifetime, you know, accumulating thoughts and all these things in our head, and, you know, just not taking the time to allow ourselves to kind of sort all that stuff out and allow it, you know, the things that aren't serving us to dissolve and hold on to the things that do serve us. um I was just meditating this morning, actually, just a little bit before this show, and something that came to me was that, you know, we're basically, so no matter what we do, we are expressing God's energy, you know, whether we perceive it as good or bad. Um, you know, I think that you know, it's still, regardless, it's still, you're expressing, you know, the one or God or the universe, whatever people, you know, subscribe to. I just use the word God, and what we do is always an expression of that. We and tapping into silence and going within, like you said, and inviting the guidance from God or the universe. I think it's like we're handed a paintbrush, a canvas, and the paint, right? And we can either choose to paint a picture on our own without having a relationship with God or a relationship with our higher power, um, and or we can invite them or invite that energy to help guide us and create a much more beautiful picture, right? I think if we invite the guidance into our lives, we can paint a much, it's like having a coach, right? And
Mm.
you can paint the picture so much more beautifully. But if you choose to do it on your own, you're still expressing that energy, but the picture is probably not going to be as beautiful and, yeah, that you want, right? So I'm not expressing it. I'm not
Yeah,
sharing it
you
as
are. No, yeah,
clearly.
you are.
Okay.
Because if you're doing it on your own, then you're you're really hanging on to this idea of this ignorance that you're separate from God, right? You're like holding on to it so tight, and that creates like some density and rigidity in your movement.
Yeah.
And it's not the same as when you're really starting to open up to God
Yeah.
and allow that to come through. And God will help us. Like how I see it is God is always moving our forms and expressing exactly like you said. But we've got these layers of dirt and mud and dross on us. And so the form is not as bright. And I'm not even talking about this form. I'm just saying our expression is not as rarefied and clear as it can be. And as we start to like invite God, go within, observe, start processing our nonsense, letting things go, that dirt and mud and dross starts to fall away. And our self-expression becomes much more connected to God, like a clearer connection. Instead of going through all that mud, it has now got a highway to be connected to. And that expression becomes stronger and stronger and stronger because, God's just trying to use us as instruments essentially, right?
Yeah.
To help others recognize their own connection to God. So, yeah, trying
Mhm.
to, remain ignorant of that is just going to create misery and suffering.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. We got Stacy in the audience. What's up, Stacy? Thanks for being here. Rocky's here as well. Um, Rocky wants to know, did you, before you decided to start traveling and following this path, he said, did you save up money during your 9 to 5 before you got out of it to bank on, or how did you make that transition?
Great question. So, yes, the answer is yes. So that was kind of the last time I kind of saved up money. And so I saved up, I think about 10 grand in my corporate job. And then I left to South America. And that dwindled over time. I ended up down to less than $100 to my name at some point. And that was a huge journey of faith too. And yeah, so now it just comes when it needs to come, and I have plenty to do what I need to do. It's not something I think about too much, but it is something I'm not avoiding anymore. I think I also developed some conditioning that money was bad. I became quite monastic and ascetic in my ways, and so I went to that other extreme. So now I'm finding a balance, and seeing money as a tool, and it is what it is. But I know that following my heart and passion has always led me to have everything I need. And so, but that leap of faith came in different levels. So, like I needed the 10 grand to leap down to South America. I needed that. I
Mm,
needed, but I can take bigger leaps now with much less. So
sure.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's amazing. Have you experienced this as well? I'm guessing you have, but once you start to open yourself up to God's guidance, have you noticed that, like you said, you've realized that you're given everything that you need? Like for me, I've noticed some incredible, whether you call it synchronicities or just happenings in my life where it seems like far beyond chance, where something is provided to me that I've been needing once I start bringing in meditation and prayer and connecting with God, and just really asking for guidance and for support in choosing which way to go. And then just out of nowhere, it seems like very recently after those prayers or just that connection, uh, it just kind of happens out. It just works out, and I'm provided money or just meeting somebody, or something opportunity comes up. So, have you noticed something similar to that?
Indubitably, sir.
I
Yeah,
imagined.
definitely.
Yeah.
Synchronicity is like becoming the norm
Yeah.
in my life and has been for some time. And I think how I'll like get an idea and I'll just ask myself like, oh, how's that going to happen? And that's like my question that I put out to God, basically, like, right? Like that's the prayer in that moment. Like, how am I going to do that? And and then it just like, something happens.
Hmm.
Like, cause I've been thinking for a while, it's like, I'm like creating some inventory right now, and I'm thinking like, but like, where am I gonna show this? And then a friend reaches out, not even like a friend, just an acquaintance essentially.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, we're doing an art show downtown. Come check it out. It's at this gallery, blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, okay, I'll go check it out. And I meet some people and they give me connections about how I can show my art. And it just, that's just how it happens. Like I'm just asking questions and God's just showing me the answers basically. And I also notice that there's no like push. Like if I like there's no push for me to go in a certain direction. It's like God has really allowed me to play my game. and understands that my underlying intention is to serve and be of use to myself and to those around me and to make this world a more peaceful place. And so how that takes form, like God and me kind of feel, I guess, pretty unattached to that, you know? Because for me, I get excited about things and then I'll lose interest. So I don't make decisions in the moment. I make decisions after kind of going through the excitement of it, maybe the depression of it, until I get to some like form of neutrality around it. And so yeah, anyway, to answer your question, the synchronicities are abound, and it's so fun when you don't really know like how your life is going to pan out,
Hmm.
but you kind of have I have an idea of the things I'd like to do. But again, I could be making this artwork and making music all as an exercise for my hands and or my voice to be doing something totally different.
Hmm.
You know, like this meditation, when I lead meditation, that is a totally different kind of art form to me than the music and the woodworking. Um, it's like nourishing on a whole different level. And I don't know if it's that the other more people involved because I've actually performed in Kansas my music like a 25-minute set for like 40, 50, 60 people at the Thrive Alive Fest. And that was also deeply nourishing. So there's something about involving more people I'm finding a lot of fun and yeah, very, very nourishing.
Nice. Yeah, I can imagine. And like you said earlier, it's amazing how when you kind of surrender to allowing your life to unfold how it will, and with asking for guidance and all these things, it can turn out so completely different. Like for me personally, like man, I used to work at a meat counter at a grocery store, and I was like
The butcher.
yeah, I was completely 180 from where I am today. And if you would have told me that this is where my life would have transpired to, I mean, I was terrified of like public speaking, and now I give presentations at retreats and all these things. And I teach classes at different co-ops, and so those are things that in my previous expression of life would have been just not even a possibility, you know.
Word.
But once I kind of surrendered to what was happening in my life, I started, I did a juice fast, and that really opened up my mind to the possibility of, wow, okay, so I feel the best I've ever felt, and I haven't had animal protein or calcium from dairy products, and I suddenly am starting to become aware. I know I'm becoming aware of the toxic thinking patterns that I have running through my mind on a daily basis, and maybe there's something to this. So then I started looking into plant-based diet, or really just eating more plants. I had no recollection of what a plant-based diet or um, veganism was or anything like this. So
Right.
it just it was an incredible journey for me personally of allowing that to unfold and to following my intuition once I reconnected with it and I stopped suppressing it. And then it's just led me to incredible uh, inner and internal and external transformations, and it's given me a chance to connect with people like yourself who are just doing such incredible work in the world, and it just inspires me to continue down the path and do as much as I can to be as authentic in my self-expression and as willing to follow the guidance that I'm getting, from God and from just my intuition. Um, and so, yeah, I think that's a great message for people to take seriously, is that, surrendering, like you said, and being open to guidance, and to trust yourself in
Mhm.
interpreting what that message is that you're getting, whether you're meditating or praying or whatever it is. And yeah, so I just wanted to point out that everything that you're saying, I have experienced in my life,
Mm.
uh, incredibly more than I ever could have imagined. So yeah, just a take home message for people.
That's great that you were a butcher too, because
Yeah.
it probably makes you immune to judgment to many people as well. Um,
Hmm.
and I think that's kind of why God takes us in different paths, because he shows us that you can't have prejudice. You can't cast stones at others, because when you start seeing yourself for what you really are, you start to see all the mud and bullshit that you're holding on to. And like, how can I start pointing fingers at anyone when I'm sitting here with plenty to do and plenty to work on, right?
Hmm.
And as I start working on this, it's like I also start, like, a byproduct of the inward journey for me was I wasn't needing validation from anyone anymore.
Right.
And so a lot of that timidity and fear around expressing myself started to just naturally fade, because I wasn't getting value from the praise as much, or the criticism. It didn't really alter me as much. So, uh, yeah, that's another thing I would say is that's just such a great factor of it, because you start to validate yourself,
Mm.
and, or, from God or whatever your inward source is. And it's just a beautiful thing. Like, to not, it's not that I don't care what other people think, but it doesn't knock me.
Hmm.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it can
Yes.
just go through me, and you start to be a mirror, and you recognize that, when someone else pisses me off, I know that that's me. I'm mad at something that they're showing me.
Yeah.
And so if someone is criticizing me or giving praise to me, I'm just acting as a mirror, and they've decided to project that on me in that moment, but that's really about them. And that becomes very clear, um, down the path at some point. And so the validation doesn't come from other people, which allows you to take bigger risks in your expression, right? And then it becomes even more fun, because you're going into territory that you hadn't previously mapped. And I mean, how much more fun can it be than mapping new territory of your own life, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Couldn't agree more. Um, and yeah, it's true. Like I used to be just so not even consciously um affected by other people's perceptions and like wanting to fit in. And once I started moving down this path, like you said, the validation you realize doesn't need to come from outside of you, right? It's such an internal empowerment that you take on. I've I lost so many of my friends from my previous lifestyle and way of life because they I don't even know, it just like I don't know if I would say they were offended by my new lifestyle or just they just it didn't resonate with them, so we didn't have as much in common. But previously I wouldn't have seen myself being as okay with just letting go of the people that weren't supporting me in my life, for if that makes sense. But now it's just like there's no desire to have and it's not like I would say we're still friends, but we just don't have any, so we don't connect at all, we don't hang
right.
out or communicate much. So yeah, it's not that we're not friends, it's just that we have gone our separate ways. And have, for me personally, it's just been a journey of more self-validation and connecting with that inner guidance, and just knowing that that is what is most important to me. It's not about getting validation outside of me. It's really being true to myself and having that integrity and sticking to my what I value, for having what is most important and what guides me. So
Yeah, man. Friends come and go, man. There's seasons to them, right? I
yeah.
mean, when you think about it, I can't expect to be friends with all the people that I meet throughout this life and like have continuous contact with them and keeping, I mean, it's too many. It's too many people to keep in touch with, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And yeah, friends come and go. There's different seasons for them. And unfortunately, at some of the lower densities that we see in this world, differences are personal. And as you work past that, you know, you probably hold no animus toward these people. You're not, there's no grudge or anything. It's just everyone's on their own path trying to figure it out. And it is what it is.
Yeah.
So, but letting go can be hard. Not to gloss over that it can be painful,
Mhm.
and you know the ripping apart of parts of our mind and letting go of things on our bodies too. It's not always comfortable and pleasant. So, and that's part of the journey too. Is like we talked about earlier, gaining poise and balance to whatever is happening, and that can be pleasant, unpleasant, neutral to varying degrees. You know,
Mhm.
it is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, we're getting close to the top of the hour, so I want to give people a chance if there's any questions to get those put into the chat. So, guys, if you have any questions, what's up, Tessa? Good to see you. Yeah, if you guys have any questions at all for Bradley, let's jump over. Let's jump over to the Q&A room.
Oh, please bring them on.
Yeah. So any questions at all, pop them in the chat, and we will get those answered. Um, what? So I'll just start us off here. So if you were actually, I was gonna ask, and I didn't ask you this beforehand, but would you, before we get in the Q&A, would you mind giving us like a 3 to 5 minute meditation?
Oh,
Is
absolutely. I'd
Yeah.
love that.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Awesome. Yeah, I feel like that would be great.
Yeah, so go ahead and I invite you to just close your eyes. Take a few deep breaths at your own pace. Relax your forehead, your shoulders, your jaw. I want you to bring your attention to your hands and just feel your hands. Whatever sensation is arising for you, you might feel pulsing, heat, throbbing, or just a general neutral sensation. The form and texture of what you're feeling is not important. What's important is recognizing that there is change, there is movement. Everything in this world is dynamic and unstable at its core, impermanent. Coming back to your hands every time your mind drifts away into the past or the future. Just gently come back to your hands. when we start to see clearly how everything is changing, we relinquish our need to hold on to what is pleasant and push away what is unpleasant. They each become gifts in their own right. We learn to enjoy what is pleasant as it happens without craving it to continue indefinitely. And we take the lesson of what is unpleasant, showing us where we are holding on to tension and conflict that we can let go of. Whether you have your eyes open or closed, you can always come back to your hands as an easy reference point, an entryway into the rest of your body. Take a deep breath, open your eyes, come back to the call, and ask me a question.
That was awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, man. I've really enjoyed doing uh, the meditative aspect of the service. I go into a different zone entirely, and it really feels like I'm an instrument in those moments more than any other craft that I do.
I can tell. I mean, it's definitely your element, and you have the perfect voice for it too. It's perfect.
Shoot,
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for that. Um,
absolutely. We're all here now.
yes. All right. Stacy popped in a question here. Thanks, Stacy. She said, "How did you open up your throat chakra?"
Oh,
That's I need to hear this as well.
yeah, this is a great question. And something I'm actually passionate about sharing more about with people. So I'm glad you asked that, Stacy. Um, well, like all things, it starts gross and moves to more subtle territories. So in the beginning, it was a lot of screaming. It was a lot of just yelling, humming, chanting, just using it, giving attention to the throat. And as that started happening, singing started naturally occurring. And I sing every day, y'all.
Mm,
Like, just that's just what I do. And so that starts to like get the engines moving, and singing is one of those things, right? Free, accessible. All you have to do is get past your own inhibitions, essentially, right? So singing, and that will lead to just expressing things more. And also what you'll notice is when your throat is locked up, there's tension in this area, right? So, and you're also likely speaking fast, you're not present. Whereas when that throat starts to relax, for most people, I would say when they're opening their throat, their octave will drop. That voice box will drop a little because everything relaxes. They start connecting, they start speaking deeper from their heart, from their solar plexus, and from the whole chain, essentially. So that's what I would do. I'd go out into the woods and scream, and yell. And you don't have to scream to where you're totally busting out your throat, but you can get just loud progressively and start to move the mouth around, play with different sounds, be okay with sounding stupid in front of a mirror. Like all of these will help you open and release and unlock different areas of the throat, because in order to do that, you have to make weird sounds to get in different pockets and corners of the throat box. So it's going to be weird, it might be uncomfortable, you might cry, There could be a lot of different things that come up because we store so much in our throat. It's our connection and motor between what we're wanting to express and how we express that up here in the upper chain. So, yeah, give it attention, use it more, calm down, be weird, um, be surprised. It's a discovery, right? Like when I'm writing, I don't know what's gonna come out. I write things and I'm like, holy shit, I didn't even think that that was gonna, I'm not like planning these things out. They just come out and have fun with it. Have fun with it. Any of these practices, I would say you have to find a level of fun and entertainment because that will keep you coming back to them. If these practices are a chore, then you're going to build up resistance to them. But if you can make it fun and exciting, um, then really the sky's the limit. You'll keep coming back to it and keep developing, and the throat is no different.
Love it. I'm gonna listen to that on a repeat for the next probably week, because those are all issues that I also am working through. I tend to hold a lot of tension in my I get tension here and then in my solar plexus as well. So that and I've interestingly enough, I have been you know been led to start singing and working on that. So I'm glad you said that. And actually, before this call, I'm trying to learn how to be better at like somatic dancing. So I'm real
Yes.
yeah, I was doing like 45 minutes of somatic dancing. I My whole life I have been the only time you would ever hear me sing or dance is if I was drunk.
Right,
So
right. Yeah.
I needed alcohol to let that part out of me. And the funny thing is, I recognized back then when I would drink. I haven't had alcohol in over 14 years now, almost 15 years. But back then, I even recognized that, like, why am I able to express myself in these ways? Like, clearly it's within me. Like, just because I need the alcohol to let it out, it's still in me. Like, I could do that without the alcohol, but there's something that blocks me that just, I have, just the fear of letting that out without the alcohol. So, now, even though it's been like almost 15 years, I'm just now getting serious about, trying to get better at singing. I don't do it every day, but I need to. And like you said, I got to find a way to make it fun. And then the somatic dancing has also, I'm really enjoying it. I've only been doing it a few days, but yeah, somatic dance. I was inspired by Stacy. I saw her, she made a post about her dancing, and so I was like, yes, I got to start doing that. So those are two things that I'm working on, is
Word.
singing and doing some somatic body work like that.
I love it, man. I love it. I actually was out here in the backyard last night at like 10 o'clock to 11:30 dancing.
Oh, wow.
I just had my headphones in. I was listening to this guy, this ecstatic dance guy who I went to in Atlanta like a couple weeks ago. And dude, it's so much fun dancing and just, yeah, somatic dancing, perform it, whatever. Like,
Hmm.
gosh, it's such a release, huh?
Yes, yes,
Amazing. And it's an exploration like of the body and like where there's tension and
yeah, yeah. It feels so good, and
yeah, it does.
it's truly healing. Like, even just in the little bit that I did this morning, you just feel that release. You just feel the peace within
Mhm.
yourself, and that's what I'm trying to get more towards, is just, because life, most people, I think, every day is just stress. It's stress, 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 stress. And we don't give ourselves enough time to start allowing peace to be more of a normal state in the body. And that's what I'm trying to get towards, is just making that my default, is just cultivating peace within the body.
Definitely, man. And we got to ruffle our feathers sometimes and just shake it out?
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Stacy says we're dancing in Michigan in June. So, all right. I'll
word.
have sounds great. Um, when you meditate, and maybe this has changed over the years that you've been doing it. Like, do you have a focus of what you're trying to do, or do you just sit there and just try and be completely silent? Or I think a lot of people, myself included, sometimes we almost feel like we have to guide, or we have to like actively work at doing something. Is what are your thoughts about that?
Well, okay, so here's what I'll say. Sitting down and allowing yourself to just be whatever can be very useful, but it can also just lead into watching the TV, which I
Mm,
mean, the thoughts are coming and you're totally like sucked into the narrative and watching the screen of your own mind. And there's not a ton of productivity in that. It can be useful to observe that in some ways, but for most people starting meditation, it's hard to have space between yourself and the witness of that. So usually we're just like we're one and the same watching the thoughts. So it is good for people to have some object of focus, which is why I brought people to their hands in this little meditation we did. For me, I'm generally bringing my attention through my body a few times and just kind of lighting everything up and just really grounding into my body, feeling everything that is accessible. Um, and then I will generally just rest my attention on my heart.
mm,
I'll rest my attention on my heart and give myself like just a subtle smile, which sounds kind of silly perhaps, but it is a very useful tip for meditator is to just put on that subtle little Buddha smile. It does something physiologically that actually helps calm the entire system. And it doesn't have to be forced, right? But just a little smile goes a long way at calming everything down and allowing the focus to increase. Whereas when it's just a blank face, there's something physiologically that this does. It puts more stress on the system. Like we're not content essentially, right? So yeah, that's a small like tip that actually is quite effective is that subtle smile. And I'm just paying attention to my heart and allowing that kind of glow to be there and just feel it. And when my mind drifts, I just come back and essentially that just grows and I'm just in they call it metta, but the loving kindness that I'm exuding for not just myself, but whatever's around me as far as I want to extend that. And through that process, the focus develops and the concentration develops, the strength of the love develops, and it's just like a reset, man. And I make an effort to do that twice a day, morning and evening. I used to be quite dogmatic about it, meditating 2 to 3 hours daily, but now I'm meditating so much throughout the day, just in little moments, and it doesn't even have to be me eyes closed, but me just coming back to with whatever's happening and landing here. That's happening more and more, which is really the goal of meditation for all of you listening. It's not to be able to sit indefinitely, it's to be able to be present in whatever your activity is. The formal sitting in silence with your eyes closed is just to support the practice of staying present throughout all of the actions throughout the day.
love it. Thank you. Um, Carl loves the subtle Buddha smile. He says that's brilliant.
Yes.
Um, Extropian Transhuman says, I believe in sulf. I don't know how to say this. Solfeggio? Solfeggi?
Solfeggio
Yeah,
or
yeah.
solfeggio for
Frequencies.
frequency.
She says
Yeah.
they're great for healing for her. Do you have any idea or any thoughts on that?
Yes, yes, absolutely. I think that in today's day and age, it's very useful to bring in outside frequencies to kind of keep yourself protected. And that can be very useful for especially when you're feeling overwhelmed, listening to like a handpan beat or a solfeggio binaural beat, things like this, or even chanting Om many times will
Mm-hmm.
create similar effect. At some point, this too can't be a crutch though. Our protection gets stronger from within and encapsulates our entire being and aura, with its own high frequency and, solfeggio frequency or ohming frequency, something powerful that will not allow those things that don't vibrate into it. So yes, it's almost like it's a nice tool to pick up from time to time, these frequencies, but our real goal here is having the frequency emanate from our own heart and being, and that being sufficient for our protection.
Love it. Thank you. Okay. Well, I think we're at time here, so appreciate everybody's questions. And Bradley, I appreciate you being here and sharing all your wisdom and experience with us. I've truly enjoyed it. I hope to have you back on at some point. And we'll definitely connect at the retreat as well. So yeah, any last words that you want to share before we sign off?
Yeah, we're all doing it, okay? We're all on our path right now, whether you see it or not. And I encourage you to be gentle on yourself, take risks. If you need to connect with me deeper, you can find me on Instagram, listen to my music. I'm running a retreat with a couple of very amazing people next year in November, and I'll be at some other retreats like the Vegan Wellness Gathering, Woodstock, and some others. So I really appreciate you tuning in. And Matt, keep doing the good work, bro.
Thanks, brother. Yeah, and just to shout out your retreat in November. It's what is it called again? Vital.
Well, the Vital Reset Retreat,
Yes.
it's going to be outside of Austin, Texas, November 15th. The website will be going up within the next week, and it's going to be a small, intimate gathering, 12 to 15 people, and it's going to be a week-long transformation. I'm so excited about it. I'm doing it with Stacy Heine and Stephanie Peacock, and it's going to be amazing, y'all, truly.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
sounds incredible. I'm gonna look in. Maybe I'll go. We'll see.
Cheers.
So
It'd be
yeah,
great.
yeah. Let me know when the website's up. I'll link it to the description box down below, and
Absolutely.
people can check it out. So awesome. All right. Well, thanks again, everybody, for being here and asking your questions. Let us know if you have any questions after the show. Put them in the comments box down below, and we can maybe we can get to them at a future show. So thanks again, Bradley, and everybody else. We'll see you same time, same place next week. Always follow your raw intuition.
Thank you.